Hey you guys, so I know McCall's patterns just dropped, and I'm gonna sit down with you guys and share all the McCall patterns that just dropped. So if that's something that you want to see, please continue to watch. So now let's go ahead and get into the McCall patterns that dropped for spring 2025. Now these patterns go from McCall's 8550 to 8574. So let's go ahead and get into the first one, 8550 being a Brandy Joan pattern. So 8550 is a fit and flare dress pattern. It's lined and has puff sleeves, princess seams, empire seams, and a rounded square neck with novelty flexible lace trim. It is an average to sew pattern. Let's talk sizing for this pattern. It comes in two pattern envelopes, 6 to 14 on the first one and 16 to 24 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk sizing. Let's talk fabric and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use cotton blends, crepe, eyelet, satin, just to name a few. You're going to need some lightweight fusible interfacing. In terms of the notions, you're going to need a 22-inch invisible zipper, some lace trim, and some single fold bias tape, just to name that. Now, this pattern reminds me of the Know Me pattern by Alyssa Thread that she has the heart in the back. Actually, no, it is an Alyssa Thread pattern. It's one of her first one. I don't remember the number, but I think it's 2019. I'll put it up on the screen so you're able to see it. But this one also reminds me of Vikisews pattern. The dress is called the Clarissa dress. So it reminds me of that pattern as well. Now, me personally, I'm going to leave this one on the shelf because, to be honest with you, I don't do a lot of baby doll dresses because I have done it. I have McCall's 8197, which would be another baby doll dress that's similar to this pattern. So I don't feel that I need another one. And like I said, I'm going to be very mindful of what I already have in my stash before purchasing more patterns. All right. But once again, this is Brandy Joan's dress, 8550. Let's move over to the next pattern. Next pattern is 8551. And this is a knit dress. This will have a sew along forward. It's a knit dress pattern that has fitted bodice, flared skirt, square neckline, sleeve, and length variation. Now, view A is your mini length dress. It has long sleeves. View B is a dress that has short sleeves, an open skirt slit, and a mid-calf length. View C has shoulder straps, open skirt slit, and an ankle length. This is an average to sew patterns. In terms of sizing, it's two pattern envelopes, 4 to 12 and 14 to 22 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics, not like we need to, but I guess we are. Now, this is a knit dress, so what fabric do you need? You need stretch knit. Like your cotton knits, your ITY would work, your interlock jersey knits would work as well. Lining fabric, you need to use tricot fabric to line it. You can also use some power mesh if you want to line this dress. Now, in terms of notions, baby, this is a no notion pattern. Get into this no notion pattern, okay? It seems like it's been a while since I said that, but I want to let you guys know this is a no notion pattern. So many of you who do not like sewing with notions, I think this pattern will make it on your list. 8551, but wait, this pattern reminds me of an older pattern that I have in my stash, and that pattern number is McCall 6834. Yes, it reminds me of that one. I'm going to put it up on the screen so you're able to see that. But it's also a fit and flare dress there as well. That pattern came out, I want to say in like 2014, 2015, which is why I have this dress pattern. So that's why I know it looks exact. It reminds me of that. It's very similar. I'm not saying like it's the exact same thing, even though it may be. Okay, but once again, that pattern number is 8551. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. Next up is 8552, and this is the missus dress with sleeve variations. Now this one, 85 85.50, I'm not picking up. 85.51, I'm not picking that one up either. 85.52, I'm on the fence with this one as a maybe. And let's just get into the description of this pattern. So this is a line fitted, slightly A-line shift dress pattern. It has French darts, polo collar, front placket opening, an invisible back zipper, and a lined patch pocket. Now, view A is your short sleeve view. View B and view C are your long sleeve views with button cuffs and a continuous lap opening. View C has contrast collar and cuffs. If you want that contrast, you could contrast the collar and the cuff. But yeah, I like this one, but honestly, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to truly pick this pattern up. But let's talk about sizing. So this pattern comes in 2 pattern envelopes. The first envelope is 8 to 16 and the second envelope is 18 to 26. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, let's start with fabric. So in terms of fabric, this one you can use crepe, linen blends, medium weight denim, tweed, just to name a few. In terms of notions, you're going to need a 22-inch invisible zipper for the back and 2 hook and eye closure. Now, don't skip out on the fact that you're going to need 3/4 inch buttons. For view A, you're going to need 3 of those. And then for view B and C, you're going to need 5 buttons. Okay. Now, once again, this pattern is 85.52. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. Next up is 85.53. Now this pattern is basically a dress pattern with sleeve and length variations. It is a zip front dress pattern. It has wide pointed collars, a front bodice patch pocket, skirt front pockets, and gathers at the shoulders and the waist. Now view A has a side seam split opening. View A and B have short sleeves, and then view C has long sleeves with the button closure. This is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 6 to 14 on the first one and 16 to 24 on that second envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So for fabrics, you can use cotton blends, denim, linen, or twill, just to name a few. In terms of notions, you're going to need a 16-inch exposed metal zipper. Now your zipper do not need to be metal. You can use just a all-purpose or exposed zipper if you choose. That's for view A, B, and C. Now for view C, you're also going to need 2 5/8-inch buttons for that one as well. Now once again, this pattern is 85.53. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, being I'm not going to pick up 85.53. I have way too many button down dresses as it is. So I'm going to skip on that one and just make the adjustments on a different pattern. That's a button down dress. And the Battle of the Shirt Dresses will be coming back sooner rather than later. But let's get into the next pattern, 85.54. So 85.54 is a missus dress. It is fitted a special occasion dress pattern, which features cutout details at the front, boning, invisible back zipper, neckline and skirt variations. View A and B have off the shoulders bow neckline. View C has sweetheart neckline. And then view A also has like a gathered skirt. View B and view C have that front slit opening on the skirt. Now this is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes. The first one is 8 to 16, and the second pattern is 18 to 26. Let's talk notions and fabrics. First, fabrics. So in terms of fabrics, you can use cotton blend, crepe back satin, satin, or taffeta, just to name a few there. In terms of the notions, you're going to need a 16-inch invisible zipper. And then you're also going to need some boning. Make sure that that boning is 1/4 inch wide boning. And then do not skip out on the pack of a 1/2 inch single fold bias tape for that. All right. Once again, this pattern is 85.54. Let's move over to the next pattern, which reminds me of another pattern, and you may know what I'm talking about. Next pattern up is 8555. Now this is the missus and women's special occasion dress. It is a close fitting line plunge neck halter dress pattern that have empire seaming under the bust gathers and back neck ties and invisible zipper. Now the skirt is a bias cut skirt. It stretches to a close fit. It is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 10 to 18 on the first one and 20W to 28W on that second envelope. Let's talk about fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use crepe back satin, rayon challis, just to name a few. Now for lining, I would say your silky prints like your Shea Muse or your China Silk, just to name a few there. In terms of notions, for all views, you're going to need a invisible zipper, 14 inches if you are doing the misses size. If you are doing the second envelope, that's the 20W to 28W, you're going to need that 16-inch invisible zipper. So make sure that you do not skip out on the invisible zipper. I know I always get asked basically like, hey, do I need to put a zipper? I'm gonna say yes. And the reason why is simply because you skip out on the zipper, how are you gonna put it on? Get in and out. I know you're saying like, I could just pull it over my head. Yes, but I would definitely say, make sure if it calls for a zipper, 9 times out of 10, you probably wanna use the zipper, all right? Now this dress reminds me of New Look 6552. Now it's also a Mrs. Halter dress and I have this pattern. So it's very similar for that pattern, New Look 6552. Of course, I'll put it up on the screen so you're able to see that as well. Yeah, I like that pattern, but I also like this pattern as well. But I'm going to skip out on that pattern. I'm not going to be picking up 8555. But let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, which is 8556. Now, 8556 is a shirt dress pattern. Now, this pattern right here, it is a dupe of a Carolina Herrera. I guess you could say it's basically a dupe of Carolina Herrera. I don't remember if it's the fall winter runway that I seen it on or if it was last year spring summer, but I will put it up on the screen so you're able to see what I'm talking about. The Carolina Herrera dress, the shirt dress that I seen on the runway. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the details of this pattern. So it is a Mrs. shirt dress in 3 lengths. It's a button down or button front dress pattern, close fitting at the waist, have notch collars, short cuff sleeves with a button tab. Now, the skirt is a full skirt with side seam pockets, baby hem, and length variation. It is an average to sew pattern. Now, in terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16 on the first envelope and 18 to 26 on the second envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use cotton shirting, cotton blends as well, linen blends, taffeta, twill, just to name a few there. In terms of notions, of course, you're going to need buttons, okay? So for all views, you're going to need, for view A, you're going to need 11 buttons. View B and C, you're going to need 12 buttons. The button is 3/4 inch buttons for that as well. For this pattern, I like this pattern, but I'm just kind of thinking of, do I really need a pattern with a full skirt like that? I don't want to add volume to my bottom half of my body because I feel like that's where a lot of my weight is in my butt and my legs instead of the top part of my body. So I don't know. I'm on the fence with this pattern. Tell me in the comment section below if this is the pattern that you plan on picking up, or matter of fact, just tell me which patterns you plan on picking up in the comment section below. Let's go ahead and get into the next pattern. So the next pattern, definitely a pattern that your girl will be picking up. It's 8557. But one thing I want to mention is my girl, Diana from 26 by Diana, she hacked this New Look pattern and created basically this pattern, okay? I seen a inspiration photo. I would have to find it. I'm not going to put it in this video, but I seen an inspiration photo back in like September, October time frame. And it was like, I seen an inspiration photo is what I'm going to say. And I seen Diana, she created this and I was like, hey, Diana, what's that pattern that you use? and created the bow. Now, the bow that she did it on live with me when we did episode 2 of Beat the Clock. Episode 2 of Beat the Clock. She created, it's a new look pattern. I'll put it up on the screen so you're able to see that pattern number as well. But let's go ahead and get into this McCall pattern, which is 8557. Now, this is a Mrs. and Woman's top pattern. It is an easy tie front top pattern in 4 different styles. So view A and view B have gathers at the waist and can be sleeveless or have a puff sleeve. View C and view D have that wide collar and front patch pockets. View C has short sleeves though, whereas view D have long sleeves with a button cuff. Now the view that I'm interested in is view B for this pattern. Let's talk sizing. So it's 2 pattern envelopes, 10 to 18 on the first envelope and 20 to 28W on that second envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabrics, you could do cotton blend, dotted Swiss, linen, poplin, just to name a few. Once again, just to mention, it's an easy to sew pattern. In terms of notions, view A is pretty much a no notion pattern. The only thing you're gonna need is single fold bias tape. View B, you're going to need some elastic. View C is a no notion pattern. Okay, let's say it again. No notion pattern. And then view D, you need 6 1/2-inch buttons. All right. This is definitely a pattern that I'm going to pick up and I'm actually going to sew this year. I'm going to be putting this in one of my collections because it needs to be there. Okay. But once again, this is 8557. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. Next up is 8558. This is a Mrs. knit skirt. Let's talk about it. So this is a Mrs. knit skirt in 3 lengths. So it's a pullover skirt pattern, close fitting. It sits about an inch below your waist. It has like this shaped side front and side back seaming and a narrow hem. Now view A is a mini skirt. View B and view C have that trumpet hem. It is an easy to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16 on the first one and 18 to 26 on that second pattern envelope. Now there will be a sew along for this pattern. I'm gonna definitely be leaving this pattern on the shelf because I already have this pattern and I'll tell you what this pattern reminds me of, all right? But let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you're going to need some knit fabric like your Ponte, sweatshirt fleece, just to name a few. In terms of notions, this is a elastic only pattern. Let me say that again for the people in the back. This pattern is a elastic only pattern. I have done a complete video on all the patterns that I came up that's elastic only. If you missed that video, I'm gonna put it in the description box below so you're able to see it. I'll put it up here so you're able to see those videos that's elastic only as well as no notion patterns as well. All right. So I did a full video on all the elastic only patterns. And I also did another video on no notion patterns. And if I remember correctly, and my brain serves me well, okay, 85 patterns that I did that were no notions. Yes, your girl did that for you guys. All right. Now, you know, I've been telling you guys all the patterns that are 5 pattern pieces or less. We'll get back into that later on. But let's go ahead and talk about what it reminds me of is the Greta skirt pattern. And it's by Vikisews. I'm going to put it up on the screen so you see it. But the Greta skirt is like a Godet pattern. It's semi-fitted as well. The only difference is the waistband is not an elastic waistband, but it reminds me of that pattern so much. All right. But once again, this pattern is 8556. Sorry, 8558. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. Next up is 8559. I actually like 8559 being a woman's and Mrs. and woman's skirt pattern and 3 lengths and a tie belt. Okay, so let's talk about the description first and then I'll tell you what this pattern reminds me of. So it's a denim style skirt pattern. It's close fitting through the hips, designed for stretch wovens. The skirt sits below the waist. It has fly front zipper, front and back pockets, belt loops, and length variations. Now, view A has a raw edge hem. View B has matching tie belt. And then also view B and view C have a front slit. It is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 3 pattern envelopes, 10 to 18 on the first one, 20 to 28W on that second pattern envelope, and 30 to 38W on that last pattern envelope. In terms of fabrics for this one, I'm just going to say you're going to need a medium weight stretch woven. Stretch denim would be a good one, or even some stretch sateen, just to name a few. In terms of notions, you're going to need I'm going to say a 6 to 7 inch metal zipper. It doesn't have to be a metal zipper, but if you are using denim, I'm going to definitely say use a metal or jean zipper. All right. You're also going to need a button, a heavy duty button, and some top stitching thread to give that denim effect. All right. Now let's go ahead and talk about what this reminds me of. So I remember this New Look pattern. It's New Look 6703. Of course, I'm going to put it up so you're able to see it. But I did this pattern review. I literally hated the skirt. I could not, I'm not going to even say hate, because hate is a strong word. I really disliked the skirt so much that as soon as I took the photos, I was like, I don't even really want to do this pattern review. But I did it for the sense of letting you guys know, like, sometimes it could just be the fabric that you use, which is why your garment did not come out as you envisioned. Now, I did this skirt 6703, did a pattern review. I used an Ankara fabric, but I'm going to tell you, do not use an Ankara fabric for that pattern. Well, the fabric that I used just wasn't good for that pattern. I should say that. I'm not going to say don't use it, but I'm just going to say for this, yeah. Anyway, that skirt didn't come out good. Would I attempt that skirt again? Possibly, but probably not, to be honest with you. Now, it reminds me of the New Look 6703 pattern, but this skirt also reminds me of Vikisews Cameron skirt as well, with that slit, because the Cameron skirt has like that straight silhouette as well, and it's semi-fitted. So look up both of those patterns. I'm going to put both of them up on the screen so you're able to see that as well. But once again, this pattern is 8559. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. Next up is 8560, and this is the Mrs. Jacket. There will be a sew along for this pattern, but let's get into it. So it's a loose fitting quilted jacket pattern. It has button front opening, drop shoulders, patch pockets, side slits, and a self-bias binding. Now, view A jacket has purchased rib knit trim at the cuff. This is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 6 to 14 on the first one, and 16 to 24 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use linen, poplin, broadcloth, just to name a few. In terms of notions, for all views, you're going to need 5 7/8 inch buttons. And then for view A, you're going to need a strip of rib knit that measures 7 inches by 38 inches. Now for this one, let's talk about it. I'm not picking this pattern up because I just feel like I could literally use a t-shirt pattern, hack it, open it up for a jacket. I have a full video on how I created a jacket where I did the drafting and all that stuff and opened it up and made a lightweight jacket. I'll put it up because it was part of the So What series back in, I think, like 2022. I'll put it up so you're able to see that and drop it in the description box below. Just note that any video that I said I had, all of those video links will be in the description box below. So I feel like I could do that and just basically not even pick up this pattern because I'm being mindful of the pattern that I picked up. But once again, this is 8560. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, 8561. Now, let's get into the description of this pattern. It's a Mrs. Jacket in 2 lengths and a skirt. So the jacket with button front opening has collar, drop shoulders, pocket variations, long sleeves with button cuffs, and top stitching details. So you can do either a micro mini skirt or you can make it longer. So the skirt pattern has a waistband and belt loops and a fly front zipper, back darts, and pockets. Now it is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16 and 18 to 26 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabrics, you have your cotton blends, your denim, your linen, and your twill, just to name a few. In terms of notions, let's talk about A and B, you need shank buttons. You need 8 of those for view A and 10 of those for view B. View C, you need a 7-inch exposed zipper, and you need a shank button, okay? A shank button is what you need. Now for this pattern, I'm not picking it up. I don't see the need for another jacket or even a skirt pattern, so I'm gonna leave that one on the shelf. But this one is 8561. Let's move over to the next pattern, 8562, which is a cord set. Let's talk about it. So for this pattern, it's a Mrs. Top dress, jacket, and pant pattern. So it's a sleeveless top and dress pattern that have square neckline, bust darts, top stitching hem, and invisible back zipper closure. Now the pants are wide leg pants that have elastic waistband. The jacket has front button opening that have a collar, drop shoulders, long sleeves, and a button cuffs. Now view B, C, and D, they all have side pockets, okay, for this pattern. Let's talk about sizing. So in terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 6 to 14 on the first envelope and 16 to 24 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, your cotton blends, your denim, linen, poplin, just to name a few. This is an easy to sew pattern. So view A, you need a 16-inch invisible zipper. View B, you need a 20-inch invisible zipper. View C, you're going to need 8 3/4-inch buttons. And then view D, you're going to need elastic for those pants. Once again, this pattern is 8562. Let's move over to the next pattern. Next pattern is 8563. And this pattern is a Mrs. Lounge top, shorts, and pants pattern. Let's talk about it. So this one I am actually going to be picking up. I know I'm not a fan of pajamas. I have said this numerous times. I do not sew pajamas. But here's the thing. My daughter likes this pattern. I actually like this pattern for the pants. I'm not sure if I would do the top, but let's talk about it. So this is a tie front top pattern. It has a flounce sleeve and ruffles at the neckline. View B top has front button opening, collar with ruffle details, short puff sleeves, and a sheared bodice, which y'all know I do not want to do that shearing, but we will see. So it also features pull-on shorts and pants that have an elastic waist and side pockets with the self-ruffle details. Let's talk sizing. So in terms of sizing, it's 1 pattern envelope, extra small to extra, extra large. Let's get into fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, challis, cotton blends, cotton lawn, gauze, just to name a few. It's an average to sew pattern. I think I said that, but I'm going to say it again. In terms of notions, view A is a no notion pattern. The only thing you're going to need is a single fold, is 1 pack of single fold bias tape. View B, you're also going to need 2 packs of single fold bias tape, and you're going to need some elastic. In addition to that, you're going to need 5 shank buttons, okay? And then view D and view view C and view D, your shorts and your pants, you're going to need 1/2 inch wide elastic for that, all right? But once again, this is 8563. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. Next up is 8564. Now this is the unisex knit pullover top. This reminds me of so many patterns. I know McCall's 8240, it reminds me of that pattern. There was a simplicity pattern that was like a polo style shirt, like a Rugsby shirt, I should say. I don't remember the pattern number off the top of my head. But yeah, it reminds me of that pattern as well. But let's go ahead and get into the description, baby. All right, so this is a knit top pattern with sleeve variations. It have collar, half placket, yoke and ribbed finishes at the cuff and the hem. View B and view C have long sleeves, and then view C has that contrast as well. The contrast is on these, what do you call it? The rib knit. There you go. Rib knit and the cuffs and the rib knit at the waist as well. Let's talk sizing. So it's an average to sew pattern, by the way. It's 1 pattern envelope, extra small to extra, extra large. Now, let's talk fabrics and notions. So when it comes to the fabric, you're going to need some stretch knit, like your cotton knit, your rib knit, just to name a few there. In terms of notion, view A, B, and C all views. You're going to need 3 half-inch buttons for that placket area. And then you also need to cut some rib knit that measures 7 inches by 38 inches. So view A, you're going to need 3 strips of, view A, you're going to need 2 strips of rib knit. View B and view C, you're going to need 3 strips of rib knit. And then you're also going to need a pack of single fold bias tape if you are doing view B. Now, view A, you need 2 strips of at least 1 3/4 inch wide by 30-inch long rib knit trim, and that's for your sleeve band, okay? Look at the back of the pattern and you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about for this pattern, all right? Once again, it's 85-64. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. Next pattern is 85-65. Now, this is a unisex style jacket. Let's talk about it. All right, so this is a unisex style jacket with collar variations for this one. So the unisex jacket pattern has a loose fitting through the chest. It has drop shoulders, long sleeve, button front opening, patch pockets, back yoke, and length and neck variation. It is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 1 pattern envelope, extra small to extra, extra large. In terms of fabrics and notions, in terms of fabric first, you can use wool, linen blends, medium weight denim, or even twill. In terms of notions, A, B, and C, which are all views, you're going to need buttons. You're going to need 4 for view A and B, and then 5 for view C. Let's talk about what this pattern reminds me of. So this pattern reminds me of an old school pattern. Y'all know I got some old patterns. But this one reminds me of Butterick 58-56 because that pattern has like the drop shoulders. The difference with that pattern is it has, I want to say it has some flaps. If I remember correctly, it has some flaps at the top. And if I remember correctly, they have some flaps like midway between the waist, on like the waist side. It has some flaps there as well, if I remember that correctly. But I'm going to try to find a photo of Butterick 58-56 and put it up on the screen so you're able to see that as well. All right. But I don't know if I would pick up this pattern because I do have the Butterick pattern, Butterick 58-56. If I have to take a picture myself and show you, I'll do that. All right. But anyway, I'm on the fence with this pattern, to be 100% honest. But once again, let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. But once again, this pattern number, let's just talk about the pattern number first. It's 85-65. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. Next up is 85-66. Now this is a unisex shirt or button-down shirt in 3 lengths. Now for this pattern, I may and may not pick it up. And here's the reason why. I am all about button-down shirts. That is my season for button-down shirts right now. So I will be making a lot of those over the course of this year. Do I feel like I need another button-down shirt? Probably not, but I may pick it up. I'm on the fence. It's in my maybe list. So there's like 4 patterns in the maybe list. And it's only so far like 2 patterns that I really want to pick up. I'm sorry, 3 patterns that I really want to pick up. Let's get into the details of this pattern. So this unisex shirt pattern is loose fitting, unisex crop shirt pattern. It have a button front opening, long sleeves with button cuffs and placket opening. Now it also features back yoke and pleats. View A and view B have that raw edge hem. View C have that shaped stitched hem. And then view B and view C, they both have the button collar and front patch pockets. I'm sorry, front patch pockets. This is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 1 envelope, extra small to extra, extra large. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So for fabrics, cotton fabrics, cotton shirting, denim, chambray, corduroy, basically any style of woven fabrics. In terms of notions, for view A, you need 8 half-inch buttons. View B and view C, you're going to need 9 half-inch buttons and 3/8-inch buttons, and that is for your collar, all right? Once again, this pattern is 85-66. Moving over to the next pattern. So 8566, 8567, and 8568 are all children patterns. I'm not going to be sharing children patterns in this pattern collection. So let's go ahead and get over to 8569. So 8569 is a Laura Ashley pattern. It's a missus dress with sleeve variations and a top. Now this pattern is a vintage McCall 1970s Laura Ashley dress and top pattern. Dress A and B or a top C has back zipper, collar, and tucked bodice front with button front vent, long sleeves. View A gathers into a button cuffs, which basically it has a cuff at the end, and view B and view C are short sleeves. View C has gathered cap and tucks. Now, like I mentioned, this is a authentic reproduction vintage pattern by Laura Ashley from 1970s. It is an easy to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, there's two pattern envelopes, 6 to 14 and 16 to 24 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. In terms of fabric, you have your challis, your cotton blends, your lightweight cotton. You have wool, just to name a few. In terms of notion, you will need a 22-inch zipper, 2 hook and eye closures, just to name a few. It's an easy to sew pattern, but once again, this pattern is 8569. Let's move over to the next pattern being 8570. And this is another Laura Ashley pattern, a dress, jumper, and top pattern from 1970s. So this one is a high waist, part way button dress, jumper, and top pattern that have patch pockets. View A and view B have the flared sleeves and pin tucks. It's an easy to sew pattern. Now for me, I'm going to skip this pattern as well. In terms of sizing, it's two pattern envelopes, 6 to 14 on the first one and 16 to 24 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. In terms of fabrics, first, what you can use for this pattern is basically any type of woven fabrics of your choosing, like your chambray cotton, cotton blends, cotton flannel, just to name a few there. In terms of notion, view A and view C, you need 8 half-inch buttons. And then view B and view D, you need 2 half-inch buttons for this pattern. But once again, it's 8570. Let's move over to the next vintage pattern, 8571. And this is a Mrs. Wrap A rounder dress in 6 different versions, okay? So me personally, I don't like a wraparound dress, but that's just my, FYI, I don't like them. I did like this apron dress, which was Simplicity 9539. I did a full sew along for that apron slash jumper dress. I didn't feel it. I didn't like it. My daughter wears it when she's in the kitchen, but let's get into this pattern. It's a one-piece wraparound dress, maybe wrapped at the back or the front. The dress is sleeveless and has choice of high or lightly scooped neckline. All edges are bound with fold over braid or bias tape for that. When tape is used on high necked dress, all edges except for the armhole may be trimmed with rick-rack braid and dress wrapped at the front. That's a lot, if you ask me. All right, so pleated pockets may be used and dress wrapped left over right at the back. Now, with a lower neckline, the dress may be trimmed with flat braid and wrapped right over left at the back. Once again, this is a authentic vintage reproduction pattern. It is a very easy pattern. In terms of sizing, one pattern envelope, small to extra, extra large. In terms of fabrics and notions, you could use cotton, gingham, denim, just to name a few there. In terms of notions, you're going to need basically some fold over braid. You're going to need some bias tape for view B. For view C, you're going to need some double fold bias tape as well and some rick rack. View D, you're going to need bias tape and you're also going to need flat braid. And then view E and view F, you're going to need 2 packs of single fold bias tape. Your girl's going to definitely skip out on this one. Whew, That's a lot, y'all. That's a lot of reading right there. But anyway, reading is fundamental and free. That pattern is 8571. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, which is 8572. Now, 8572 is an apron pattern, and y'all know I'm going to skip out because if you missed my video on the top 24 worst patterns that was dropped in 2024, I know many of you guys was not feeling that video because y'all thought I went in on a lot of the pattern brands. But let me say this here while we're getting ready to end this video. I'm not going in on no brand particular. That video was strictly not just me, okay? Because a lot of you guys were like, Rochelle, just because you don't think, listen, I understand your point of view. It wasn't just me. I gave my honest opinion, but at the same time, I looked at and I said it at the very beginning of the video, I looked at several other people's video and they were not feeling it either. So with that being said, I did my research before I did the video of the top 24 worst patterns that was dropped in 2024. You don't have to agree, but we will agree to disagree and share the piece. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the next pattern, which is 8572. So this is a wraparound A-line apron pattern at the knees, below knees or calf length. Have white waistband with bias tape, ties, and patch pockets, finished with bias binding. Now, it has an asymmetrical patchwork apron, can be made with bias bound hem and hem ruffle and lace trim. So basically, they want you to see the envelope for more information on this pattern. Now, it is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's one pattern envelope, small to extra, extra large for that one. In terms of fabric, any type of like woven fabrics, this would be like your broadcloth, your chinos, your cotton types, gingham, lightweight denims, linen, just to name a few there. In terms of notions, you're gonna need some double fold bias tape. View A and view D, you're going to need 2 packs. For view B, you're gonna need 1 pack. And then for view C, you're gonna need 3 packs of double fold bias tape. That's a lot of bias tape, okay? But once again, this pattern is 8572. Moving over to the next pattern, it's a pillow pattern. Just in case you may be interested, it's 8573. So for this pillow pattern, it's a pretty pillow pattern in a heart, a square. You have a heart, a square, and squares for this pattern. It can be sewn with matching fabric, ruffles, or braid trim, and 3-dimension flowers, all right? It's secured with beaded petal center. The heart pillow has the ribbon bow accent. Square pillow has the applique leaves. And then the square patchwork pillow has mini puff ball trim accent on the seams. And it can be embellished with dimensional springs or sprigs or flowers with pom-pom center. That's a lot. Okay, what I'm going to say is definitely go to Simplicity and read that, because I feel that a lot of the sentences did not it did not flow very well. But nor here or there, we're going to get back to it. It is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's a one size fit all because it's a pillow. In terms of the fabrics, you can use any fabric of your choosing, whether it's matching fabric or a different fabric. All right. But once again, this is 8573. Let's go ahead and move over to the last pattern, which is a pattern that your girl may be picking up. Now, I want to say this is a plush animal by Carla. I do have 2 of Carla. I think her last name is Rices or Rices, something like that. But I do have 2 of her patterns previously. I like those patterns. I have not made the pattern, but this one is a plush animal print. Now, I have been seeing a lot of people make memory bear pillows. And when I have shared Joe from So Very Joe's pillow and my girl Chris from I Am Craft Therapy, many of the people that I know, like, I'm going to say my network, but not necessarily my network. I'm going to say my family, okay? My family was like, hey, make me a pillow like that. Now, am I going to be the one to make it? Probably not, to be honest with you. But I might make one, you know, as a tribute to some people that have passed. You guys know back in, I think it was 2023. Actually, it was 2023. I lost two aunts, and that really hit me hard in 2023 to where it took me a long time to literally start sewing again in 2023. That was back in April and May. And I didn't start sewing again until October. So it took some time because both of the aunts were near and dear to my heart. I do have some things that my cousin said that she could send to me to make a memory bear for them. But let's go ahead and get into, not to sound so mushy, because y'all know your girl is hard at heart, all right? But not to sound mushy, but let's go ahead and get into the details of this pattern. So this is, I'm just going to kind of like paraphrase, okay? This is a stuffed animal. So you have your puppy, your bunny, your lamb for this pattern. I like this. I mean, like if I do one, it's going to be view D is the one that I'm interested in doing. But let's go ahead and talk about the sizing. It's a one size fit all for this pattern because it's a pretty much like an accessory style pattern. In terms of fabric, fleece, you could use low pow faux fur, minky fleece, just to name a few, just use some fleece, okay? Now, in terms of kind of like your applique for like the eyes and stuff like that, you're gonna need some felt. For view A, for the beret on view A, the vest on view B, and the collar on view C, you're gonna need some felt there as well. So yeah, for interfacing, use muslin or broadcloth fabrics. So it tells you all the notions you're gonna need. You're gonna have to definitely read that because it is a lot for this pattern. This is a pattern that my daughter was like, hey mom, is it a possibility that, you know, we could make a few of those? She's thinking about selling some of those in our local community of Orlando. I don't know if I have the capacity to do so because y'all know your girl don't want to sew for other people. But it's a memory pillow for those that have lost somebody. It could be somebody who they lost in war. It could be somebody that they lost as a dear friend, killed by a drunk driver or something like that. So, I mean, it all depends on what it's for. You know what I mean? I'm not saying no. I'm not completely closing that door. But what I will say is your girl don't have a lot of time to do these things and also show up for my challenges and stuff like that. So it's basically depending on who it is. I'm not putting word out that I'm going to do one because there's many of people that have been selling these. Like my girl Chris from I Am Craft Therapy, she have sold some of these and created for other people who have lost people in war or in battle, I should say. Well, guess what? That's it for this McCall's video. I hope you enjoyed. If this video was educational, inspiring, and fun, you know what to do. Give your girl 2 thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. And I will catch you in the next video, which will be my Butterick. Butterick. 5 pattern pieces or less. You could see that video right here. And it'll also be available sometime this week. Well, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, keep sewing.